Okay, we're on. All right. Set to go? Okay, good evening, everyone. Before we start our regular meeting, I'd like a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Mr. McGee? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And motion to seal the minutes of executive session.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we're out of executive session. Mrs. Lavoy, good evening, and if you could begin by taking a roll call, please.
Glenn Shibley,
I'm here.
Greg Labasanier,
Here.
Kerry McGee, Karen Carlson, Deborah Bacon, Stephen Delaney, Nicholas Gorham.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Spearman, I see we might have a guest here to lead us off into the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, thank you, sir. And on your lead,
I pledge allegiance to the flag
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And while we're still standing, if we could just bow our heads. And dear Lord, we ask for your guidance here tonight and your blessings. Please watch our public safety officials and all our military personnel, whether serving this country on country borders or across the world. We know that a lot of them are in harm's way. This we ask, amen. And Mr. Spearman, if you could, the emergency evacuation plan.
For emergency, the Eagle in the rear, just went to right left.
Okay, thank you, sir. President's comments. All right, first and foremost, I'd like to remind all Coventry voters that this coming Thursday, June 28th at 7 o'clock at the Coventry High School Auditorium, we will be resuming our financial town meeting to vote on the critical issues of our budget fiscal year 2019 that need to be approved before July 1st. It is paramount to the welfare of our town that these budget items be approved in order to protect us from financial ruin. Secondly, I want to congratulate the Coventry EMA group that held a most successful National Field Day event this past weekend. It basically began Saturday, June 23rd, and completed Sunday, June 24th, for a 24-hour period. It's a annual event where ham radio operators compete and volunteer. More than 40,000 ham operators in North America. They set up temporary transmitting stations in public places and demonstrate ham radio science, skill, and service to our community and our nation. It is the most popular event in ham radio events. I stopped by yesterday afternoon, and again, I think they had more than 15 volunteers, 1933. So glad to be part of it. Another note, just a general reminder that June 25th, which is today, June 26th, and June 27th is the deadline for candidates to file declarations of candidacy for local and state and federal offices. So if anybody's interested, you've got two more days here to declare. And I just wanted to get that out. Always looking for good candidates, and believe it or not, September and November come all too soon. So think about it, and And if you are interested, stop in and see our Board of Canvassers. All right, next is the approval of the town council minutes from May 7th. It is, I think, about 28 pages, quite lengthy, but fairly complete, or I'd say very, very complete. So I'll have a motion to accept the minutes of May 7th. Okay, do I have a second? Second. All right, any discussion on the minutes at all? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Aye, okay, thank you. Council district updates, why don't I start with Mr. McGee, District 3.
Okay, I also want to encourage anybody who is interested in running for election in any of the local or state offices, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of the Declaration Day. So please, if you feel as though you can make a difference, please put your name down. Also, I want to wish everybody in District 3 and townwide happy 4th of July. Enjoy the holiday, be safe. And last but not least, our FTM, our continuance of the FTM is coming up on Thursday, the 28th. And it is of the utmost importance to pass this budget. Like I stated at our meeting last week, if people are unhappy with some of the council members, this is not the way to get back at it. You will demise the town, we will ruin our credit, there'll be a lot of negative effects from not approving this budget. So I encourage everybody to get out there and vote and approve this budget so we can move on with town business. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. District 5, Mrs. Bacon.
Yes, I'd like to announce that the District 5 Community Plan meeting that was scheduled for this Thursday has been rescheduled. It will now be on August 2nd, Thursday evening, 6:30 at Westwood Estates Community Room. So if you all want to attend, that would be wonderful. Also, the sewer moratorium that has been in effect since January is expiring on 6/30. Could someone explain why it's not on the agenda tonight, and could we get an explanation?
If you're looking for one from me, it hadn't come across my attention, and I'm not sure that we're ready to make a decision on that. And I don't know, Mr. Delaney, has that crossed your desk yet on that sewer moratorium? Or Mr. Gorham, maybe you can help answer that question, if you would, sir?
The sewer moratorium was set to expire, I think, on June 30th.
Yes.
And I wrote you an email back and explained that the moratorium is for sewer construction. And there is no plan for any sewer construction right now. Also, you were concerned about assessments, but assessments can only be made by ordinance, and that requires notice from the town and so forth. So, and I also put that in the email to you, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, but I would like to know, I'm just trying to understand, why wasn't it put as an agenda item so we could discuss and possibly just extend this? I mean, the folks that are on Coventry Drive, which is supposed to be the next street, they're very concerned that the moratorium will be lifted on June 30th, and they're very concerned what will happen on July 1st. So I'm just wondering, I did ask, I sent emails to the town manager, and, I mean, even Senator Raptakis reminds the entire council.
Did you send, I'm sorry, did you send one to the president?
No.
Yeah.
I sent it to
Because he
the
makes
town
the
manager.
The president makes the agenda.
Well, because, Glenn, you've made it perfectly clear, if I send emails, you don't read them, so that's why I send everything to the town manager.
I try to if I know they're coming across. You could also call me. I'm one phone call away. As far as moratorium changes, I think it would have to be a council vote, so that wouldn't happen until the council votes,
So,
just to put everybody's mind at ease.
so right now, the moratorium, what happens on June 30th? Is it still in effect on July 1st?
Nothing, yes.
Nothing,
I just want to make sure, because these people are very nervous since they're on the next
well,
fork.
the moratorium was for building. It
Yes.
said that there would be no building of sewers. And I don't think it could be any clearer in the public domain that there is no intention to build any more sewers in this town than right now. And if you want the moratorium extended,
Yes.
then, I mean, you can ask the president to put it on the agenda. I do not have the authority to put things on the agenda.
I know
just
you
simply
don't, but I did
So-
send it to
I know
the,
you sent it to the town manager and me.
Yes.
And, I
which you
can't-
both sit in the agenda meeting, so.
Right, right. And I'm sorry it wasn't on the agenda.
And
I'm
I
sorry.
hadn't even thought about it. We have another meeting the end of the month, next month, and we'll discuss it at that time.
Okay, thank you.
And again, I don't think it's going to be, obviously, there'll be no construction until something changes, and we might still be waiting for the
Citron
cost,
Cooperman and-
what it's going to be, and then change the moratorium and put it back into works. But we don't have that information yet. So for us to sit here and discuss among the five of us, I don't think that would serve any purpose. But certainly, I didn't get any request, and had I probably would have come up with the same answer. All right, thank you.
Oh, no, I just have another.
All right,
I
you
would
go
also-
ahead. I'm not saying
Okay.
you're done.
Thank you. Could you tell me when will we be receiving the Citron Cooperman report and also the Auditor General report? Any indication when
respond
those
to
will be coming in?
I can tell you with regard to the Citron Cooperman report, how can I put it directly? There's been a lack of communication between Citron Cooperman and my office, even up until today. I had not heard whether or not they were prepared to present their report, and I pulled it off the agenda because of that. Had not heard from them. Today, I heard from Citron Cooperman via an email that they were surprised they weren't on the agenda. And as I wrote back, I said, because you haven't communicated with me since May, I had no idea whether or not your report was complete. So I've asked if they're available at the next meeting, and that's the hope, that's the plan. So,
Okay.
I mean, I'm just being very candid with you.
Me
I
too.
couldn't, I hadn't heard from them, so I wasn't about to put something on that they weren't ready to present, but
Okay, any word on the Auditor General, where he is with his report?
I don't know the answer to that. I've ordered Citron Cooperman to hold on further discussions with the Auditor General because they advised me that they were running over budget. And I said, no more discussions. I'm not showing how you're over budget, but we can have those conversations after the report's complete, if need be, with this body. So there's been some communication issues. And I honestly don't know where the Auditor General stands on their analysis. I know that they were still, as of a couple of weeks ago, still working on it. They were here today,
Still in town hall today, still gathering data.
so it's ongoing.
It's still ongoing. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Carlson, District 1.
Good evening, everybody. The comprehensive plan meeting for District 1 is on July 10th at the Western Coventry Fire Department. Please attend if you can. This is the future of our town. The comprehensive plan is undergoing revision, review, and I don't think there are a lot of people attending these meetings, from what I understand. District 1, obviously, we have a lot to protect and preserve, so if you would like to attend, please do. It's at 6:30 on the 10th at the Fire District. Number 2, I would like to personally thank Karen Grandy. I saw the video from Friday, and I'm glad she came. It was, we were trying to get her there, and I'm glad she had the time to come to the meeting, and I kind of felt, I kind of was laughing because she was using my house analogy, buy a house and don't pay the mortgage analogy. So good to know that she was kind of in the same vein I was. I was really happy to see that. Next, there is a draft report on the turbines and the flicker, and it's a draft flicker report. I will be discussing it tomorrow with the planning director and the associate planning director, and right now I've reviewed it. I have some deep concerns about it, and I will let everybody know in July if there is actually a final report as opposed to a draft, and pretty much question the conclusions of this report. It's a computer model, so that's not real life. The other thing was that back in January, and I know Mr. Delaney wasn't here, but I think it's really important for the town council and the school committee to have 5-year plans, and we never seem to get that done. I asked for it back then. Now it's 6 months later. I haven't heard a word. I think we could, as a town, maybe benefit by not going through this every year and not knowing exactly what our future is going to be, and that, again, goes along with the comp plan. So I'm throwing it out there again. I'd like to see a 5-year plan done. And the quarterly reports kind of started a couple of years ago, and then they stopped. So that came from the finance department. If we could kind of put that in the back of our minds when our finance department's up and fully running again, and we have a director, I think the quarterly reports, just like the fire districts give us quarterly reports because they're mandated by the state after the Fiscal Stability Act came into Central Coventry, now they have to do those reports, and we get those. The last thing, are we going to have a presentation from Baxter Dancero at a future meeting? Because they didn't do their show this year. They were away, or
They were away.
yeah.
He just got back in late last week, and to make sure we could schedule it with this, I felt that it was best to be able to give it to in next month's meeting when we know everybody's here and he's available and he's not doing it, just coming in and doing it quickly. I'd rather have
Okay.
it be prepped properly.
Baxter Dancero is our auditing firm. So every year they come in and they present the audit, and I think this year's a really important year to do that. The last thing, Ed and I are going to talk because there's some things that I need. Oh, the last thing, the senior tax freeze discussion, is that going to be Mr. Shibley on the next agenda, do you think?
It's possible. I'm not saying yes or no. I know that I think it was premature tonight, especially with all
when we
the
get
other
through
things we have.
Thursday and-
Right.
yeah.
We want to see how the fiscal year ends, and then we can worry about, the future. And,
I think we need to
where-
worry about it, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Again,
Well-
whether everybody votes to end it, if they
Well,
vote
I
to
don't
put
think we need
limits
to
on
end,
it.
not necessarily voting to end
Well,
it, but I
right.
think we need to how it's
We'll s-
working and the parameters involved. And we know
We'll
that
see how
over
that
the
goes.
last
It-
10 years, it's been
That's
about.
not really district report, but yes, I think it's coming
Well,
attractions.
it's not a district report, but
Right. Okay.
all the districts, so.
Right, and I understand that. Again, first things first, and let's see how the fiscal year ends, so we can get a report from Dancero.
Well, it definitely
and
impacts
also-
our fiscal year.
It
so
sure does.
Just wanted to bring
And
that
then
up.
come July 1, we'll see how we start the new week, the new year,
Okay.
and if we're still in business. But thank you.
And that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. District 2, Mr. LaBassiniere.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to reiterate the urgency of folks getting to the FTM and approving the rest of the budget to alleviate financial disaster. Also want to wish everybody a great holiday, 4th of July season coming up. I've got a couple of things. One of the reports is that that it was actually released by Coventry Police Department that Colonel McDonald and I went and testified at the Situate Town Council meeting at the request of the Situate Council to speak about the dangers of and the safety hazards that continue on Calvin Town Road with the Vinagro trucking all the way out and around, because the Situate Town Council is considering a change to their town ordinance, which will take away the no-through trucking on Hope Furnace Road to shorten the trips of those trucks. In many discussions with DPW Director Mr. McGee, et cetera. We talk about the damages to the road, to the culverts and things all along there, as well as the dangers. I've fielded many phone calls and emails from people with having to deal with the trucks and coming head on at some of the hairpin turns. So The Colonel and I have both testified, and we advocated for the change to that ordinance so we can shorten their trips. Some of the benefits to people even from Coventry is the Vinagro company is going to redo the bridge that is in really disrepair, dangerous bridge on Hope Furnace Road. They're going to widen the road going down there. They will cut back the times of travel for any of the trucks from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And so that way they're around they will not be involved with school buses, et cetera, so they'll never meet there at that time. And it will be a maximum of 15 runs at any given day that would happen between those hours, trucking things out that side of Calvintown. So I see benefits to that. Plus, I think they were looking to give up some other rights. One, I'm not quite. I don't really know the answer, but I heard they said they would give up their landfill rights, which apparently they still have landfill rights. And back in the early 2000s, Rhode Island Resource Recovery nearly ended up coming to the town. So I don't know the answer to that, whether there actually are landfill rights or not, but that's part of the discussion. Anyway, it was a good meeting, and they had pros and cons as with anything in their discussions. So that was about 2 weeks ago that we attended that. I also received a complaint, which actually I wanted to ask Director McGee regarding the complaint that on the traffic on the Poor Farm Road. Well, we're going to add that. We have to add that to the traffic committee. It's on the agenda. Great, thank you. That's because I've still gotten a couple of folks that were asking about that. So, other than that, that's my District 2 report, and thank you.
Thank you. District 4, first of all, I'd like to say the Arnold Road project is looking really good. Mr. McGee, how are we doing as far as finalizing it? Is it?
We are at substantial completion.
I figured that.
We'll be able to walk through punch list
Good.
tomorrow.
Good. Well, very good. I guess I must have had ESP, but again, a lot of people are telling me they're just very pleased with how it's come out, and hopefully the walkthrough goes good. Another thing I'd like to do, District 4, is publicly thank the Iannotti family for taking care of the island. A nice article in the Kent County Times today. For the last 18 years, the Jack Iannotti Flowers Company, Jif, on Main Street has been taking care of that island at the end of Sandy Bottom and Main Street. And according to the news article, it spends over $1,000 each year, with not even counting the cost of labor. One thing a little disheartening is they said that over 22 contractor trash bags were used last month cleaning it up. People throwing cups, litter, cigarettes, anything and everything. And it's just, again, I've mentioned before, try to have some pride in Coventry. Just no reason to throw things out the car. I know that there is a litter fine. It's just that I don't know how often people get written up for it. But compliments to the family. Thank you for helping beautify the town and especially District 4. It was a very nicely written article by the Kent County Times today. I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that maybe didn't see it. Lastly, on District 3, I know that there's getting some emails on concern about the water level in parts of Tioga Lake. And Mr. McGee, I imagine you got some of those emails as well. I know that hasn't been a lot of rain. That Narkowitz, Mr. and Mrs. have told me that, or through the emails, that the last 8 weeks. But the gate has been looked at, and
I met today with Jerry Knockowitz.
yes, okay, yeah. I guess you can use the mic.
It doesn't come over the video.
Yeah, I just a general question on District 4.
I met with Jerry Knockowitz
Yes,
Can you hear me now? Okay.
I can hear you now.
All right. The gate is totally closed.
Yes.
And we are finding there's some bypass water going through. I've contacted a dive team today. I just got back from a small vacation because my son got married.
Ah,
So I got
congratulations.
back. Thank you.
Congratulations. I didn't
And
know that.
the dive team is
Okay, so
scheduled
you're
this
looking
week.
into it.
This dive team is scheduled this week to find out what the problem is. So
Excellent,
we're on it.
excellent. And I know, again, Rome wasn't built in a day, but at least we're looking into it, and that's good news.
We're not draining the lake on purpose.
Right.
So, thank you.
I don't know, I don't think the beach is the. I only got one email, maybe with some of the concerns with the geese, but I'm not sure if that's the case, and I don't know if our Parks and Rec director's here. I don't have that information, no. And I wouldn't want to say it if it's not true, so. Facts, ma'am, just the facts. Okay, that's it on District 4. Thank you. And next on the agenda, School Department Report. I see our chairperson. I assume you might be bringing the report. Mrs. Patna, good evening. Good evening. And welcome.
Good evening, everyone. So again, thank you for allowing us to come and present to the council on a monthly basis. It's very much appreciated. So my first order of business is to congratulate the Alan Sean Feinstein Middle School softball team, I don't know if you know or heard, for winning the Rhode Island Middle School Championship. Yay. Congratulations to the, yeah. And also congratulations to the Coventry High School baseball, softball, boys volleyball, and the Alan Sean Feinstein Middle School baseball team for making it deep into the playoffs. So they really did well this year, like they always do. On Wednesday, June 6th, over 100 Alan Sean Feinstein Middle School students were recognized for being inducted into the National Junior Honor Society for 1 or 2 years and 2 years. Each 8th grade team identified top teen students. Other students were recognized by individual specialty areas such as Spanish, physical education, music, and chorus. I would like to thank the administration and teachers at Alan Sean Feinstein for their outstanding efforts this year. There were numerous changes that took place this year. If this award ceremony is any indication of what we can expect from Alan Sean Feinstein Middle School in the future, our community has a lot to be excited about. The evening was planned and facilitated by the class officers and the National Junior Honor Society officers. Thank you for putting together an outstanding program. On Tuesday, June 12th, the FY19 budget for the Coventry Public Schools was approved by the voters in attendance. We are concerned, as I hope you are concerned, for the reputation of our community. As has been stated publicly on numerous occasions, we believe that the shared leadership of our school community has provided the much-needed stability to Coventry over the past 23 months since Mr. Levis has been superintendent. We have been transparent in all of our actions and solution-oriented. Coventry Public Schools has made it a priority to share and celebrate our successes with the entire community. While we have had and continue to have our challenges, we have never lost sight of our responsibility to each and every student. We have and will continue to work collaboratively with each and every town department. They are crucial to the success of our school community. 346 students received their diplomas during the Friday, June 15th class of 2018 graduation ceremony at the Ryan Center. It was an amazing evening that truly highlighted the diverse talents of our graduates. There was a presentation of 23 Okra Awards to a cross-section of students selected by their teachers and representative of all student agenda. Thank you to Mr. Hoban and the entire Coventry High School staff for making this a truly magical night. It was a celebration of every teacher that has had their fingerprint on these graduates during their 13 years in Coventry Public Schools. A special thank you to Mr. Ken Leonard, senior class advisor, to a job well done. We also want to thank the Navy Junior ROTC Band and Chorus for their contributions to the graduation, and we thank our own President Tribbley for his address in front of the graduates. And I thank me for my address? No. That's not in the minutes. I was just throwing that in. Finally, congratulations to the Coventry High School art students Jameson Landry and Sophia Federico Jameson and Sophia won the Patricia Edwards Memorial Art Scholarship from the Rhode Island Foundation. The scholarship provides them with free tuition to summer classes at the Rhode Island School of Design. Jameson and Sophia will be recognized at a ceremony this Thursday, June 28th, held at the Rhode Island Foundation. So, any questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Patnode. I thoroughly enjoyed the graduation, and I just pleased I made all four as president, and I enjoyed giving my little address, and it was a good night, very good. And I knew quite a few graduates. I didn't know until I got there, but it's always a happy day, that's for sure.
It makes my job on school
It does.
actually worthwhile. And yes, I did declare resentment. I'm crazy.
God bless. All right, thank you for the report.
My print was a little wonky at the time.
Thank you again. Okay, next on the agenda, C-section licenses. Mrs. Lavoy, I guess we'll discuss these one at a time. C1. We all have them in front of us, I think.
Application for a 90-day peddler license by Pelagi's Ice Cream.
Okay, and this is a renewal request, I imagine. And it seems like everything is in order on this particular request. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll second
A
that.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, next, C2.
Application for peddler's license by Casa Tia Rosa. It's a food truck.
All righty. We have this also in front of us. I see where the applicant is working on obtaining his Rhode Island Department of Health and Food license and retail sales permit, and wanted to go on the agenda tonight in that summer is going fast, and it would only be approved if, in fact, they get the proper paperwork, correct?
Correct.
Okay, with that stipulation, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And the second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. And then we have C3.
Application for fireworks on July 4th by John Giusti.
Okay. I see, I highlighted where the applicant has applied to the State Fire Marshal's office. Do we know if it's been given a green light yet, or is that still pending?
Something we'll get right before it's issued.
I see, okay, fair enough. So, and the location is 3 Osprey Drive. Do I have a motion to approve pending the good word from the State Fire Marshal's office?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Fine, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Very good. So done with C licenses. D, resolutions for discussion and/or action. And number one, I know Mr. Robillard is here, but Mr. Delaney, would you like to speak on this, or you just call on Mr. Robillard? Okay, that's fine with me. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, thank you. The resolution that's before you is to relocate our food bank and clothing bank, which is formerly at 191 MacArthur Boulevard.
Right.
The relocation we're on the second floor there, and the Comprehensive Community Action Program has gotten a $1 million federal grant where they're going to put a dental clinic on that floor, as well as do some more renovations to that building. So part of that initial agreement on the lease was for them to house our food bank and our clothing bank, as they get the building from the town. And one of the stipulations was they had to house us. So they have agreed to pay for our move and also 6 months plus of rent for us to relocate to the same building that the Human Services and Senior Center are being located, so all of our services can be located in one building.
Excellent.
And they're also going to pay for us to return once the building is ready for us to, renovated and ready for us to be there.
Okay, well, that's understandable and good news. D1, we have several pages, and I know, Mr. Gorham, you've probably reviewed this, correct?
I actually prepared the lease.
Okay, I
so
thought you might have.
I'm comfortable with it.
Okay, all right. Any questions of the council? Otherwise, I'd entertain them. Okay, Mrs. Bacon?
I just have on page 55, 20, is this crossed off, or is it just
A
done?
line through it?
Yeah.
Has that been stricken, Nick, I would assume, on contingencies? 20 is it page?
I have no idea why that line is there. I don't think that's something that we put in. I think it's just something,
Would you know, Mr.
Not sure.
Robillard?
I'm not sure. I don't have the document in front of me.
it really, this
yeah,
I can
if I could-
say with some degree of confidence, Member Bacon, that paragraph is to protect the town from having to go forward with this lease in the event that the police station bids did not come before the council and get approved in a timely manner. As we now know,
Yeah.
that is no longer, the bids were approved in a timely manner. The station is under construction. I don't know who put this line in
Yeah,
here.
I think the initial request, the request letter that I had sent out on 4/20 was saying that it was an emergency, an emergent need, and it was based around the same timeline as the move for DHS. So I think that's probably why it was in there, then struck.
If it's struck, it's moot anyway. So, but I don't know why that line is there.
All right.
It needed to be initialed anyway. would it not?
It's better to just leave it as moot, so.
Okay.
But thank you for
My whole
picking-
focus was that it wasn't going to cost the town a penny, and
That's great.
since the finances are really important, and the fact that the lease, when I reviewed the initial lease, that they had they had to house both of us there, so I think that really makes sense for us to, if we're going to co-locate for the time being, we should have it in the same place that we're providing services, so we can have cohesive services.
And I see it, we have a copy of the check has already been received.
Yes, the check,
So
well,
it's
we
more than-
have it, and it's pending the lease approval, so
Right.
that we can start the
Pending.
process and get them over there and
Right.
get our services started. We actually have the Department of Health scheduled pending this meeting, so that we can
Very good.
get started and start providing food to families.
I like the fact also they're moving our group to BioSci, and also at the end, we'll move them back.
Correct,
That's-
yes.
that's excellent.
They've agreed to,
That's a
and
big cost,
know
yeah.
that they want to provide that service and make sure it exists in town, so.
Okay, very
we're-
good.
We're all on the same
And
page.
again, it's a really nice neighbor, BioSci, to be able to accommodate.
Yes,
with the
they're
space
more
there.
than gracious, yes.
Very good, very good. Okay, any other questions of the council? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck. Okay, number 2, D2, Town Manager's Search. Mr. Delaney, I think that's yours.
Yep, it is. You may recall that about a month ago, we had a discussion, I had received a detailed quote from Municipal Resources, Inc., MRI, and the request from the council was to get a couple other quotes,
Right.
which are before you in this packet. I've gotten quotes from, all three firms. Any of these three could do the job very well. Looking to get some direction from the council and hopefully a selection of one of these consultants to move forward and to get the process started. You're looking, if you did the selection of a firm tonight, you're still looking 3 to 4 months before you would see a new town manager here. So it's important to get the process started as soon as you could. So if there's any, I'd be happy to answer questions. Pricing is all in the general ballpark. ranging from 15.8 to 21,000. But the reality is, as you vary some of the expenses or the advertising, the numbers will all be pretty similar in terms of the expense of probably around 20,000 or a little less, give or take about 3% in that area.
Yeah, have you, I see you been familiar, have you used any of these firms at all in your past experiences? I mean,
Yep.
I really like to go by someone who's had experience with them and, been
Well,
involved.
let me just go down through the list. I know all of these firms. It's a small community out there, really. Community Paradigm Associates is headed up by Bernie Lynch, who used to be the city manager of the city of Lowell, lives down on the Cape, and a couple of years ago began his firm and is very active. You see the resumes with him. He's got a pretty solid group of managers, retired managers that work with him, who are now out in the consulting field. Very good reputation. He just completed several recruitments up on the North Shore. I think he's doing Hamilton is one that he's doing now, if he hasn't already completed it. Municipal Resources, Inc. is doing the recruitment in, was it Westerly?
Westerly and Portsmouth?
Westerly and Portsmouth. They also did, when I was working in Danvers as the HR director, they undertook the search for the town manager in Danvers, did a very good job. They also, I just saw them listed, they got the recruitment for the town of Lexington, Mass. So they've got a good reputation. GovHR USA, one of the principals has roots in this area from down toward Cape Cod. They've done some work in this area. Also a very reputable firm. I've used them for various HR-related functions. Any one of the three could do a very good job. It's really what your comfort level is and your sense of who you think would be the best fit, really.
Well, I was pretty impressed. I mean, I really read through the Community Paradigm one, and I was impressed. And they're the cheapest price, which is always a good thing, But I just why I wanted to go by, experience. If anybody had experience with them, and if you had, I mean,
they're all good. I wouldn't hesitate on any of them.
Yeah, I mean, there is, for everybody's knowledge, there's a $5,000 difference between, the least expensive and the next one. I mean, I know always the cheapest is not the best, but, that's why I wanted to find out if you have used them and dealt with them.
All three of them.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, another comment, or did anyone
I'm
else
good.
have? Okay. Mrs. Carlson, did you?
Just a quickie, did we have some resumes you thought were viable that we should speak to the people that sent them in? I thought you might have
We do have
mentioned it.
resumes. Viable is a question in terms of whether or not to be a good fit. I couldn't, several clearly were not. A couple might be, but you really wouldn't know until you interviewed them. You could include them in the mix. I wouldn't hold it up, frankly, because it's a limited pool that's coming in from our advertising. Any one of these folks would be able to cast a wider net, a deeper net.
To pay to get a quality person, really.
Well, I think the key piece here, and it's something to keep in mind, you need, if any of these three companies will work with you to develop the profile, but if you need a seasoned manager who can come in and really kind of help guide the process here in a way, doing, for example, I think it's important that there be some goal setting with the council, with the department heads, a critical process, particularly at this stage. So when you're developing a profile for the position and interviewing the candidates, keep that in the back of your mind in terms of what you need to be able to bring in to the position here.
Okay.
Sure,
any-
yeah. Nick had a
Yes.
comment relative to the residency issue that's mentioned.
Right.
In overhearing, I think it was one of the conversations I think we might have had at this table previously, or it might have just been with the town manager making a comment to one of the council people. But there's been an assumption that the town manager must live in Coventry as a matter of law because it is in our charter. I do not agree with that. The state law, which is Title 45, Chapter 2, Section 15.2, says that we can't notwithstanding what our charter says, we cannot require someone to live in town based on our charter. What we can do, and I'll just read it, it says, notwithstanding the foregoing, no city or town shall be precluded from entering into employment contracts which contain residency requirements with their appointed town or city managers. So we can negotiate residency, but we don't have, but we can't require it. And the reason that the reason I got thinking about this is Town Manager Delaney indicated that when we say that residency is a requirement, as we have done in the past, he said that limits the field of eligible good candidates who we might get. And I think we would want as broad a field as possible, particularly if we are free only to negotiate. We don't have to require them to live here. We may find someone we really like who doesn't live here, and we want to hire them. We can negotiate that term if we want to, but if we really like them and we just think they're going to do a good job, even though they don't live here, we're free to do that. So this becomes germane to the conversation we're having now, I suppose, because we're thinking about hiring a search firm, and we have to give them some instructions on whether we're going to require residency as, an element of their employment. Something to think about. Not something I think we're necessarily going to answer tonight, but that is the law as I read it, and it does give us a lot more flexibility.
Well, it
Thank you.
certainly does, and it could only help. And again, it's good information, so that I was one that always thought it was written in the charter and you must, but if it's not the case, then that's even opens up the field wider, which is good news. Any other comments on the three potential vendors of the council? I know that Mr. Delaney, I had a question. I know that you said on Community Paradigm Associates, you've worked with Mr. Lynch. Do you know him?
I know him very well.
Okay.
I have not worked with any of the firms on a paid basis.
Right.
I know them all. And as I said on my cover note, in the interest of full disclosure, I was on the short list for the interim manager's job in Ipswich that Community Paradigm was recruiting for, but I wasn't called, nor was I interviewed. But I just wanted to put that out there so there's no confusion.
Okay, thank you. I think all three obviously are in the same ballpark financially. I know that one headquarters is in Illinois. I think, the further away, maybe possibly the less, more advantageous to us working here. I know the second one, MRI, is from New Hampshire, which is not that far of a drive, but the Community Paradigm is, their headquarters is right in Plymouth, Massachusetts, correct?
That's correct.
And I think, one, the lowest price bid, two, your knowledge that they all could do a good job, three, they're the closest to Rhode Island. So I see no reason not to possibly choose the first one on the list myself. But again, I'm open to any other comments, or I think it would be good to make a selection tonight because of the fact that, as Mr. Delaney said, we're still 3 or 4 months away after we choose a vendor to get going on this. And unless anyone else has any further comments,
No, I'm just making a comment. I think I read through them, and I was
Yeah.
really impressed with them. And
I read
they
through
are
them all,
local.
too.
I agree with you on that. And then if Mr. Delaney says he's familiar with the people, I'm fine with that. And they are at least expensive, which is always a plus. But certainly, I'm good with Community Paradigm.
Okay, I had just one concern on the third vendor is that, and I'm a stickler for spelling, but one of the references was listed as North Kingstown and spelled incorrect twice. So not that that makes a difference, but it's the most expensive one anyhow, and it's out in Illinois. So I'm a stickler teaching report writing for almost 30 years. Again, I like the first one myself. Anyone else, or should we have a motion? Ms. Carlson, did you want to?
I thought the first one was, and I like the fact that they're close, but I want to point out that on page 99, that the summary of expected costs, including the proposed consulting fee with a schedule of payments, advertising, travel, and other miscellaneous, the consultant fee has an asterisk where it says, based upon described scope of service can be modified upon negotiation, fee to be paid in 3 increments, plus ad costs at the conclusion of advertising, semifinalist, selection and town council vote on manager. So there may be a little increase to this, so I don't think it's actually set in stone. So we just have to be aware that it's an advertising cost estimated $800, but I think from reading their resume and everybody's in here, I thought they were a real good choice too.
Well, I think right on the cover letter, Mr. Delaney had, price might vary slightly on any of them, is the example advertising. Correct? You
Yes.
list all 3.
Yep.
All right. So that's just confirming what our town manager had made note of, and we'll just keep that in mind. Motion?
I'll make the motion because I am in consensus. I like the idea that the principals have substantial amounts of time as town managers themselves and know exactly what to look for.
Okay.
So I'll
very
make
good.
that motion.
That's the
For
community
community
paradigm?
paradigm,
Okay,
correct.
associates, a second on that motion then.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Mr.
So
Delaney?
I would, thank you very much
you.
for getting this approved. So what'll happen from here is that over the next month or so, I would expect the consultant to be on site here and meeting with each of you individually to kind of begin the process, and we'll probably be at your next meeting to
Good.
kind of pull this whole thing together. But so there'll be some activity between now and your next meeting. So
Very good.
we'll keep you posted.
Okay, that's good news, and thank you for your good work and getting three of the quotes, so appreciate it. Okay, next, we have, under D, we have actually 3, 4, and 5, which all pertains to DPW. I guess we go, obviously, one at a time. So why don't we take D3? And Mr. McGee, I guess you'll speak on this one?
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
The resolutions before you are our annual resolutions for our pipe, castings, silt fence, which is erosion controls, and such. For the last 10 years, there are 2 contractors that are in the area that provide this product, and we've asked, as we have in the past, to award the contracts to both contractors because the prices are within pennies of each other. We normally would go with a low price if the product is not available, because if we need to do a drainage project, we go to the next person that's here, because we're only talking, if you look at the 12-inch pipe for HDPE, it's $587 from one contractor, and it's $588 per linear foot from the other contractor. And it goes that way all the way up and down. The way you have it advertised, it shows one is for HDPE, the other one is for pipe, castings, and erosion controls. And I only got back today to be able to review it. It's actually for all 4. It's for pipes, castings, and erosion controls. It should be for both. They should both be the same. Well, one says HDPE pipe, and then the other one says pipes and castings and erosion controls. They should all be for all the items. And I respectfully ask that you approve that so we can move forward come July 1 for any drainage projects or issues that we have with broken catch basins.
Do we need to take them in one motion, 3 and 4 together, or do we need to do them separately?
You can do one motion.
I'm going to make a motion to approve items 3 and 4.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? If not, 3 and 4 we've got in front of us. And you're familiar with both of the companies, Warwick and Lincoln. All right.
And E.J. Prescott, yes.
Okay, Prescott, yeah, from Lincoln. All right, all in favor then?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. So
Thank you.
both of those are approved, and why don't we go to D5 now?
The item before you is for the towing services, specifically the heavy tow. We went out to bid again this year. We had one bidder, Pat's Towing, out of West Warwick, Coventry area. We sent the bid packages out to Pat's Towing, Ronnie's Towing, Astro Record, Twin City Towing, Coletta's Garage. We got one response back. Pat's has been the most responsive for us. They also do our inspections, and they have the heavy tows so that when a plow truck is down, they can respond within the hour. We used this year Ronnie's Towing, and it was 2 to 3 hour response time, and my towing budget is 33% over budget because of using Ronnie's Towing. Mr. Waters had directed me to use somebody else, and I tried to argue the point, but I could not get through to him, so it cost us more, and we got not as good service as we've had from Pat's in the past. My recommendation is to award it to the single, only bidder, Pat's Towing.
I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, discussion.
Could you-
Ms. Bacon?
Yes. Can you explain, because you said you were 33% over budget last year because you used Ronnie's Towing
This year,
this year? I'm sorry.
yes.
So,
We did not have a contract in place. And then Town Manager Waters directed me to use Ronnie's Towing, and which we did. And again, we had response time that was 2 to 3 hours, and the cost was substantially higher per tow than it was with Pat's Towing. And Pat's Towing, as you can see here, it's for 3 years, with the rates for all 3 years for the light tow, medium tow, and the heavy tow. We utilize the heavy tow more important than anything else.
so how many tows did we have last year? Could you, I mean, I'm just trying to understand between the heavy tow, light tow, could you?
Yeah, we had a lot of breakdowns this past winter, so we would normally budget $3,000, we're at $4,500 this year to date on towing services. So how many that is, ma'am, I don't have that number for you, but I can tell you dollar-wise what we spent.
Okay, so we've never had a contract for the towing service with DPW?
We did not have one last year, and I was directed to use Ronnie's Towing. I went back, we had years prior that we had contracts. I went back out and sent it to all the large companies, sent them out, advertised it, and sent them out to each one. The bid package went to everybody. And Pat's Towing was the only bidder that responded to us. We've had Pat's for many years. Last year was their first year.
Okay, because I know when there was some issues that Colonel McDonald had with Pat's Towing.
Correct.
A year ago.
And it was with Pat's Towing, it was with a different aspect of his business. It was nothing to do with the towing. However, the school department, the fire departments, even the police department, believe it or not, used them on heavy tows when they had to call in because nobody else could get it. So the service has not been a problem, and we're looking at the towing, not about anything else to do with any garages that are in West Warwick.
Do we have to do a 3-year contract? Could we look at a 1-year contract because the price keeps going up each year? Could we look at a 1-year contract and see how this works out?
Well, it actually says in the specifications that the town, we have it 3 years, so we have 3 years that we have prices. If the prices of fuel keeps going up, it could be higher than this. We have the right, per the specifications, to not renew for the second or third year for any contracts if we have a multi-year. If the town is not happy, we have the opportunity to give them 30-day notice and not renew for the second and third year. So I think it's safer for us to have something with the way oil prices are fluctuating and fuel prices are fluctuating, that we have somebody that's set for 3 years, so our prices are set. But if we don't like them in year 2 or year 3, we can give them 30-day notice and not have them on the contract and go back out to contract.
Okay, and can we just circle back when you said you contacted the other companies? Did you advertise somewhere, print, or did you actually contact each and every one of those companies?
Both. We actually sent the bid packages out to all these companies, and town clerk's office advertised it on the state website.
Okay, and nobody, only Pat's?
Pat Stone.
All right, so, but we do have an out clause in case there are issues with this, or?
With the option-out clause,
Yeah.
I don't really see a downside. to
Okay,
doing
no,
a
I just want to
3-year.
confirm,
It's
so
a
there-
good question, but when he explained it that way, is that in the paperwork?
Not what you have right there, but it's in the specifications.
In your specifications?
They went out to
That
bid,
is
the bid- in the
specs.
bid packs,
Okay,
yeah.
and they're incorporated.
Sure.
Okay, I didn't see the bid specs, I only saw, I don't see a downside.
And if I could just ask, Major, I see you here tonight. Are you aware of the letter that the chief sent a year ago, April 2017, regarding the concerns? Okay. Has there been any changes on that concerns, or is it still the same concerns? Not that it's necessarily handling the issue of towing, but with the establishment. You have not?
No.
All right.
It's in the letter, just advised to reapply in
Just-
December 2018.
Yes, it says clearly that they could do that. Okay. All right, well, again, we can opt out. That's the only one that can handle the big heavies, and we'll keep an eye on, and I think we've had a motion to
And a
made and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Any
you.
opposed? Okay, we
Have
have
a good
it.
evening.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Major. Okay. Excuse me? Yeah, we made that one motion. That was a separate one.
Yeah.
Okay, D6. We have in front of us, Mrs. Lavoy, you just want to maybe explain that for us on the matter here?
Do you want one at a time?
I think we can take all of them.
Just do all of them.
All of them, yeah.
Okay, approval of sewer tie-ins. Coventry Plaza LLC for 1026 to 1050 Tyoke Avenue. TJ Cool Properties LLC for 110 Arnold Road. Elliot Amy for 7 Union Street. Jake Butler for 461 to 463 Fairview Avenue. And John Summer for 521 to 523 Washington Street.
Okay, and as we clearly noted in the first whereas, the sewer subcommittee has recommended approval for all of these tie-ins. I know that the Coventry Plaza, I think, is down in District 5. I know that the Arnold Road has got to be my district. Union Street is off of Boston, is it not, Mr. McGee? And Fairview is yours, and Washington Street probably also, I would say it's yours. Okay. Do I have a motion then to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? Okay. All in favor? Or discussion?
I have a question. Are all of these folks aware of what their sewer assessments are?
I haven't asked them, but I assume they know if they're going to be requesting it. Is that not fair, Mr. McGee? Would you know that answer? No? Well, we could approve it, and obviously we want to make them aware of the price. I'm sure that they're going to, either agree to it or not. And I would say that obviously they must know. I'm just guessing.
Well,
Sewer subcommittee, do you guys know?
Do we have any of the sewer tie-in applicants here? And we could ask them.
Okay, that's a good question.
There's one right there.
Oh, that's right. We do on Arnold Road. I forgot that was you. All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Heatherman. Yeah, that is that lovely accounting office there.
And I
didn't
have
know-
absolutely no idea what it's costing.
Okay. Do you?
I've asked everybody possible. I tried to get it in writing before Mr. T-Boat left,
Okay.
before Mr. Waters left.
All right. Well, do you have any concerns with whatever it is?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
All right. So, yeah, in other words, you.
Tell me who to ask the question
Good
to,
question. And I don't
And
necessarily have
I
the
cannot even
answer.
get a straight answer on that.
Right. Again, the cost, I'm not sure what it is. Who would know that, Mr. Delaney or Mr. Warzika? Would we know?
I can shepherd that
Okay.
and get an answer for you.
I mean, if we hold off, it's another month away. I'd say approve it and pending your agreeing to tie in. I mean, we have to approve it. They've
No, I
recommended.
understand that.
Yeah,
I'm asking who.
Yeah, this is just a tie-in. I don't have the answer.
I have no problem with that. I
Right,
just
okay.
want to know who to talk to for this elusive price that keeps on.
All right. Well, again, I think probably it's because the moratorium and then the cost differential, we still haven't heard, and whether it's going to be what we had been told, higher or lower, I don't have the answer, but,
The assessment will be set by the town council.
right.
That's how it's done. And
And it has
the
been.
town council will be given a recommendation
Right.
on what the assessment should be, I believe, and that will be the assessment.
That's the way it's been.
Yeah.
It's set by
I'm
ordinance.
sure the assessments on the other locations have been set, but the Donald Road hadn't been set yet because of, but the other assessments are probably from those particular, I'm sure from those particular projects.
Okay.
But
Well,
we'll
So
have to get,
so then the question is, if the cost is prohibitive and say Mr. Heatherman does not want to spend the money, can he say no if we approve the tie-ins?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say so.
Can you? Do you want to know that for sure?
I don't think that there's necessarily a choice, because the sewer goes in front of his house.
It's,
And
well,
both the Enabling Act, and it goes right in front of his property. It was installed, it was put in front of his property, and the ordinance and the Enabling Act both say that the town can assess, a sewer assessment can,
Right.
if it passes in front of his property. I think to say that he can opt out, I think would be, a misstatement.
well, and that's
be
why I
perfectly
thought we
candid.
needed to extend the moratorium and discuss an extension this evening.
that's not,
The moratorium,
it's something different.
the
Well, I-
the
New
moratorium is for
construction.
building costs. It's for building
Well,
new
this is new
sewer.
'cause he's on
This
a
is,
road.
the moratorium
already
is
done.
for
It's done by his
building
house.
new sewer lines.
Yeah, right.
And
So
there are
these
no
sewer
plans
lines are
to
already in the
build any
ground.
new sewer lines. In order to do it, the town council would have to go out to bid and a
But it-
number of other things, so.
But it also says in the sewer moratorium, under 2 is all new sewer construction is suspended through June 30th, 2018. 3, residents wishing to connect to the sewer system before June 30th shall be allowed to do so, provided that the abutting sewer on their street is substantially complete.
Right.
Right, and
They
it
can,
is.
that means that they may ask to be tied in immediately if they want, before there is an assessment, and people can ask, people have the right to ask if they may tie into the town sewer without knowing the cost. If they want to do that, they're free to do that, and that's what the
Can I say
resolution
something on that
says.
also?
Every month we've approved them, same way.
You
Yes, and I had the same questions last time
I
we
know,
did
but-
this.
They
but
still
let's
can
not make-
request it, and we
just-
can still approve it, and
just-
then
I
either they,
understand they can.
To
but I-
clarify.
Please do.
If somebody wants to ask, I think it is foolhardy of the town to say no.
we
You
want to have the
can't.
sewers funded.
If people want to ask whether they can tie in,
Right.
I see no harm in that.
The
And that's
question
all the
was, do they
the
understand what the
resolution.
cost could be?
The
That was my
resolution
only
made it
question.
clear that they can ask to be tied in. That's
Can I make
all
a
it did.
statement on
Yes,
that?
please do.
The jobs on Washington Street, Fairview Avenue, and Union Street have been done
All
for
been
quite a while.
done.
And I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that the assessment is already established on there. I'm sure that if they check the records, if anybody else on Union Street, that's been done for several years in Boston Street. So that's probably one of the assessments that were done lower than what it should have been back in the day, but there's an
Probably was.
assessment already figured on. It's the newer job, like Arnold Road, would probably be in question.
Okay.
Okay, can I have Union Avenue's assessment?
Yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you?
You know what, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but yeah, I'm sure you could, it's public knowledge, I mean, whatever the assessments are.
If they had it on Union Avenue, you could have
Yeah, oh,
Union
man, you
Avenue's
have it,
assessment.
All right.
I just want to make a
Yeah.
comment, though. We have folks coming before us. I mean, you have it on Arnold Road, and we can't even give them an assessment. They have no idea what they're going to pay, so
That's the one I was,
He must have a need to tie in.
I want to listen, I started this back in September. This has been an ongoing thing.
Right.
I need to get the parking lot done. This has to go in before the parking lot.
So who are we to stop him from getting his construction projects done? I mean, he knows it's gonna be a cost. to have the line done. I don't
Well,
know.
there's a lot of things that fall into it. I mean, everything's being tied up on Arnold Road. You're telling me that everything has not been approved. We have unapproved change orders. We don't have an assessment, don't have a dollar value. If I agree to it at this point, and I pay you X amount of dollars, and this somehow gets tied up in a long, heated court battle between these things, what happens at that point? Do I get money back if it comes to less? I mean, how does that work?
Isn't it working by the new ordinance?
That's a hypothetical that at this point, I mean.
We don't have the answers.
I know that the town council for new sewer projects sets the assessment by ordinance.
All due respect, Mr. Gorham, it's been 8 months. I would think that we would have a price on this.
Well,
I would think that there would be somebody in town that I could call.
I'm trying to answer your question. The town council sets the assessment. That's who does it.
And it's been 8 months.
And that's why the town
to have it
manager.
done, and you're telling me
but-
it's not done, correct?
No, right, it hasn't been done. Arnold Road, the Public Works Director is here. Is the sewer project on Arnold Road deemed substantially complete?
The northern portion of Arnold Road, from Johnson Boulevard to Tyoke Avenue is complete. It's been accepted, and there are already tie-ins ready to go. Same thing on Sand Street.
Right.
And
So,
you're the
so
northern end.
this is why the resolution made an exception for people who want to tie in. If Mr. Heatherman wants to tie in, he can. He's on, and he's filed an application to do it, even though the sewers have not yet been assessed.
Now, in the past, the finance director would come up with the amount
Right.
of everything. And I don't believe that's been done yet on the road, but
I've
with us
got-
being our situation with the
Probably-
finance director, that's usually the cost of the project
Right.
is told to us what the assessment has to be.
Right.
We don't
Right.
know.
And we're still, actually,
The-
trying to find out what it'll be.
The finance director typically makes the recommendation, but I'm just trying to clarify for Mr. Heatherman.
Right.
The board that has the final say
It's us.
on everything with the sewers, including assessments, is this town council. That's always been the case, including tie-ins. Even tie-ins have to be approved by the town council. So I'm just trying to answer your question. The only body that can tell you is this body right here. And they probably haven't had a recommendation. It's good that you tried to get some ballpark figure from Mr. Thibault. You're right, he left. We don't have a finance director right now, and that's probably why you don't have a figure, Tom, is that there is not somebody who can convey the information not only to you, but to the town council about what the assessment should be.
I think another big reason is because of the moratorium. That's put everything on a stopper. It's stopped everything for the last 6 months. So once that's off,
Well-
and once we have the answers, then we can make a decision.
The moratorium doesn't affect tie-ins.
It doesn't affect tie-ins. If you want to tie in, you tie in.
We need to,
I think,
I mean, it's, you
Mr.
made the
Manager,
request.
can we look in and try to come up with a, you know, with a, at least to know what the cost is gonna be, so we can start working on that and come up with an answer?
Excellent.
If you just had the price since everything's done, per thousand on commercial, then we can handle it from that.
All right, well,
I mean, I would think that you would have that number, your commercial rate and your residential
Oh,
rate.
in other words, by the cost, right.
And then it goes
Broken
by
by
the
the costs
As-
and the ordinance, the way it's set with the gallons,
The,
gallonage, et cetera.
it has to be carefully computed. One of the problems with the sewer system is that it was computed about what made, in a way that they did assessments for what made people feel good, and they were really way too low, artificially low. The next set of assessments are probably gonna
Gonna
have to
be-
be very,
and I
very
can tell you,
carefully computed,
Tom, you-
and we don't have a finance director to do that.
politically, they've always kept it low. Nobody wants to be the bad guy and state what it should be. Because it's always been, oh, we can't do this. I remember what was 3,000, and then it was 6,600, and then it went to 12,900, and now it's got to be 20-something. All right? Now, again, do we have the answer? No, we're still trying to find it out. But, I mean, you've made the request to tie in. You know, you made the request to tie in. Now, if you don't want us to approve your tie-in, then we
I want you
won't.
to approve the tie-in.
If we do,
All I'm asking, Mr.
the
Chairman,
answer,
all
I
I'm
understand
asking-
that.
I'm
I
asking-
understand that.
No, my question was from point one. Point me in the
Right,
direction.
and we will
before
work
you can
on
Answer
that.
my question.
Okay.
we
It
will,
doesn't
I
have to
understand
be a
that.
long chat up there.
Yeah.
Just, if
I
it's going to be
understand
Mr.
that.
Delaney, I will go meet with him tomorrow, call him, whatever they
Okay,
want to do.
got it.
Please sit with Mr. Delaney, Tom, thank you.
Got it, Mr. Heatherman.
Can
I understand that.
Can I just ask for a clarification? the sewer tie-in, so you're saying that the council sets the sewer, the assessment for these sewer tie-ins. So we've approved other sewer tie-ins. We haven't had any sewer assessments come before us for these prior.
It's been,
We did it couple months ago? And now we have these, so. So these are old ones, so we should know what these sewer assessments
I
are.
know, but
Would
he
those
was-
be coming before
But
us,
it
or?
was Mr. Heatherman, who's on Arnold Road, which has not been assessed yet. He was the person who asked. and he
Yeah, but I
doesn't
think
know.
I'm just asking also, I'm just trying for clarification, because you said the council sets the assessment. So I just want to make sure that on all these other roads, Ty Oak, Union, Fairview Ave, and Washington, so those assessments have already been set by prior councils?
I would say correct, yes.
I don't know that for a fact.
well.
I don't know that.
All the people have tied in.
they're
Well, no,
in the
they've
area
done
that
requests
they've
to tie
been.
in.
They've been.
And so the only one
But
that's.
there's a
I'm just
change
not-
in, there's a change in, with the change in ordinance, that I don't know if that, in all honesty, that's something we probably need to
Right.
look. If the change of ordinances actually would change those assessments as well. That would be, that's a question that
All right.
we probably
And
need
could
to
I-
answer as
could-
well, too.
Could I
But-
also just make a suggestion going forward, when these come before us, could we have the assessments next to them so we know the cost? So not only do we know the cost, but the residents know the cost. Could we do that going forward? Because,
Well, that wouldn't come from the sewer subcommittee, because the sewer subcommittee doesn't have that.
no,
It's a
but once it
finance-
comes to the town
finance-
council,
the
yeah, but it would
finance
go
director
to,
doing
we'd have the
that.
finance
Yeah.
department. So when this is,
Yeah.
We-
Yeah.
I would love to say yes, but without a finance director, honestly, I think it's irresponsible for anybody to sit here and say, yeah, that's a great idea, we can do it. I don't know if it can be done.
but these people have already
at the
asked to
time
tie
people
in,
wanna
and we
tie
don't
in.
have a finance director, so we don't know what they're going to be charged then.
They'll know what they get charged.
No, I'm just.
Can I
I'm
make a
not
point on that?
arguing,
Like-
Nick,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to,
They're going to get a sewer bill.
Like
That's
I
it.
was
Mr.
stating
McGee.
before, those prior jobs, the Fairview Avenue.
Yeah.
They've all been done, the assessments already established. I'm sure you could just get a hold of Stephanie. Those are years
Somebody
ago, the
next
jobs
door.
are finished. So the assessment's there. So I'm sure that you could get a hold of them and find out what the assessment. On the road's different, but these past jobs that have been done for several years, there is an assessment. I don't know off the top of my head what they are, but there is an assessment established already.
On the other
And there's no
floor.
reason why it couldn't be provided to us, because I'm sure when the applicant puts their application for tie-in, they know what the assessment is.
Yeah.
Tom is different with Arnold Road because
No.
that's with, involved and, and it's not completed. But
Okay.
the rest of the jobs have been completed, the assessment's established, and they know what they are.
All right, so here we are. Again, we got the request for 5 in front of us, 4 that they should know, the one is not known yet. Do we want to hold off for a month? Or do we want to approve it? And then they decide if they're going to pay it or not, and if not, they don't tie in. They don't tie in. It's, they'll give them a choice if we approve it.
Well, they've requested.
They've requested it, yeah.
the tie-ins.
They've requested
Their
it.
engineers came before the sewer subcommittee.
And they-
And requested it.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right, so a
That's
motion,
what it was already done.
oh,
We got a
okay,
and a
motion
second.
and, all right, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any opposed? All right. Very good. All right. We're down to E now, general public comment under E. Any general public comment under E? Yes? Come on forward. Good evening. Just your name and address for
Sure.
Mrs.
Rebecca Simon, 14 Gentry Farm Drive, Coventry, obviously. I just have a proposal, and I wasn't sure where to bring it, so I thought I'd bring it to you guys. It's 2 ideas that I'd like the council to consider. I know that we're in a time of a lot of things going on, but I'd like you to consider a method of engagement for our town members. Obviously, as you noticed, there's a lot of Facebook comments, there's a lot of social media discussion, which isn't always based in fact, and there's a lot of confusion at financial town meetings, et cetera. So I believe in solutions, so I recommend to the council that you guys consider a monitored question and answer system that can be tied into the town website, similar to what other programs do. I have an example of it here. What it would mean is essentially threading comments by district so that they become public but archived, so that you guys don't get the same questions answered or asked over and over again. I can imagine that you probably get a ton of emails a lot of the same question, some that become frustrating to you, and probably frustrating to the constituent as well, because they're not getting their question answered. So a model that we use in the American Occupational Therapy Association is to thread comments and have sort of a listserv. I think it will engage some other people besides who is typically here, and maybe a way to have some factual answers. So I would propose that you talk to the web director, whoever that is, the communications person, and see if that can happen. I can give you an example. Oh, that's good. All right. Hey. And then,
Yeah, would you like to say something? That's fine.
Sure.
So,
I have a second
just
idea,
who's going to be sending out the answers? But
I'm
go ahead.
actually looking at several different community engagement
Right.
programs and software to use to get people involved, so we can disseminate the information, so we can stop a lot of the misinformation that's
Right.
showing up on social media. So yes, I'm looking at a couple of different ones. There's some that are specific for budgets, and there are others that will do town-wide for all different types of topics town-wide. So we are looking at some right now, and unfortunately, the money is in my budget, if it passes Thursday,
Hopefully it does.
to add some of that into so we don't deal with this again next year.
And then, sort of along with that, the second idea that I have is considering accessibility for the town meetings. As many of you know, and looking around, not many people can make it at 7 o'clock, myself being one of them, with children in life, third shift, people who have different accessibility issues that can't leave their house at a certain time of night. So while I know many people watch the recording and watch it live streamed, I'm wondering if there's a consideration of a program like Zoom, which is $14.99 a month. It's a lot cheaper than $20,000 for a town meeting. But what that does, and I've used it, and I'd let you use mine for free if you want to try it for the next one. I'd suggest a pilot, because you can still follow parliamentary procedures. People can raise their hand. They can ask questions at the end. You can recognize them, or you don't have to recognize them. You can probably hook them up on the big screen here so you can see their faces. I think for people who are home with children, or people who may miss a meeting, the recording will help them. And again, that paired with some other system of a social connection, they can then ask questions when they see the agenda. So those would be my recommendations. I'm hoping to see some of them come to fruition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming and your comments. Okay, anyone else, public comment? Anyone else? Public comment? Okay. All right, we hope you all show up Thursday night and vote to approve our budget. The town depends on it. Motion to adjourn? So moved. Second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, good night. Happy 4th of July coming up.